everyone, and welcome back to Sunday Reads with Renee. My name is Renee at Simply Renee, and today I'm going to be doing my top 10 favorite Agatha Christie novels. Her 50th anniversary of her passing has just come on January 12th. She passed in 1976, and Agatha Christie, for anyone who isn't aware of her, is known as the Queen of Crime because she wrote these magnificent, fantastic mystery novels and featured great characters as well as two of the most popular detectives in crime fiction, Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple. I've been an Agatha Christie fan for almost 20 years, and I very much love her works, even the ones that are not up to speed on her talents. But I really love her works, and I wanted to do the top 10 favorite novels of Agatha Christie that are mine. And I'd like to hear from you about what your favorite Agatha Christie novels are. Have you read her works? What do you think is her best work? What do you think is not her best work? Please be sure to put them in the comments. I love to hear from you and welcome all discussions. Before I begin, I wanted to make full disclosure that in this list, I'm going to be just focusing on Agatha Christie's mystery novels. I'm not going to be focusing on her romances under Mary Westmacott, her plays and short stories, because I think those deserve a list of their own. And the top 10 list is just my own thoughts and opinions about what I think are the best novels that I believe are her best. And I'd like to hear again from you as well. Also, full disclosure, I will be doing alternative words and phrases because of YouTube rules and regulations, and I will be revealing plot points, so spoilers are ahead. Number 10 is Ordeal by Innocence. Published in 1958, it tells the story of geophysicist Arthur Calgary, who returns to the Argyle home 2 years after being away. Only he discovers that the Argyle matriarch Rachel was brutally eliminated 2 years prior, and that her son Jack was convicted of the crime, only to pass away in prison shortly after. The problem is, Arthur has evidence of Jack's innocence, and when he presents this to the police as well as the Argyle family, the investigation reopens, revealing long buried secrets. While this book is choppy in places, I overall liked it, including the ending. I thought it had some interesting characters, a nice pool of suspects. I think, in terms of the 1950s works with Agatha Christie, this is one of the better ones in some regards, and I think it is a very well written work. I like the flow despite a little bit of the choppiness. And I overall like the title as well. I think it has an interesting family dynamic that was presented, and I overall like the ending. I thought it was a interesting one. I felt it was a little bit twisty, so I do think Ordeal by Innocence is number 10 in my view of one of Agatha Christie's best works. Number 9 is Why Didn't They Ask Evans, published in 1934. And this is one I genuinely liked because it's about a young man named Bobby Jones who's playing golf one day when he hears a man cry out. He goes to investigate and discovers that this man is violently passing away at the rocks below a cliff. And when Bobby goes to call a doctor and see if the man needs any further assistance from him, the only thing this man says to him in his last words is, "Why didn't they ask Evans?" And though perplexed by this last words, Bobby doesn't make too much light of it, and eventually he ends up becoming a target of violence, and thus Bobby is set off to investigate the mystery with his friend, Lady Frances, and they do that in order to discover who's targeting Bobby, but also the mystery of why didn't they ask Evans, because it's an interesting last word to say of a man who was passing away very violently at the rocks below the cliff. I overall liked this one. I thought it was an interesting mystery. I liked the characters of Bobby and Francis. I thought it had very good flow, fun adventures. It was a very, nice kind of sort of upbeat mystery thriller with some suspense. And I wouldn't say it's too much upbeat because you are dealing with investigating someone who was violently eliminated, of course. But in terms of mystery thrillers and suspense, I think this is a pretty good one. If you've looked at my previous review of The Secret Chimneys by Agatha Christie, that had some mystery thrills to it and fun adventures, but I wasn't too huge on that. And I think Why Didn't They Ask Evans improves on that, and I thought that was a little bit better. And I just very much like it, and that's why it's number 9 here on my list. Number 8 is Endless Night, published in 1967. And this is a book about a man named Michael Rogers, who is a chauffeur that's looking to settle down and start a family, but he wants to find a property to build his dream house. He discovers that property with Gypsy's Acre, and he sees it as the perfect place to build his dream home and start that family as soon as he finds the person to settle down with and spend his life. The only problem is Gypsy's Acre is a property that doesn't get a lot of attention and no one's really interested in buying because it is haunted by a curse, and it creates all this horror in the novel, as well as strange happenings, especially when Michael purchases his property and finds a woman to marry, and just strange things keep happening on that property that he has to investigate. And he goes through a lot of psychological thrills and suspense, which is why I do like this novel overall. I think it's really one of the few Agatha Christie novels that's not detective like, where you find a lot more suspense and thrills. There's no fun seeking adventures. I think it's a departure from her previous works that have those fun seeking adventures in combination with thrills and suspense. But I overall liked it. I thought there were a few too many characters, but I thought it was very good. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It's definitely one of the better works in her later career before she passed away in 1976. And I just overall liked it. So I do recommend Endless Night to read, enjoy, and keep your thrills up on the edge of your seat because it's that good. Number seven is the ABC M Word, published in 1936 and featuring the reoccurring detective Hercule Poirot. And this is one I generally liked mainly because of the plot and the concept and how it just flows and the mystery of it all, especially because you have Poirot and the return of his reoccurring character and friend Arthur Hastings. It starts off with Hercule Poirot visiting with Arthur Hastings, and they're catching up after Hastings has been away for a while when all of a sudden Poirot receives a letter from a mysterious individual who just signs it ABC. But in the contents of this letter, it reveals that this person just signed ABC is actually someone that wants to play a cat and mouse game with Poirot in crime and investigation, but it's very turns deadly because what this ABC person does is that they want to eliminate people by alternate names in the alphabet, like AA, BB, and so on. So it creates this whole cat and mouse game and these interesting clues, and it flows very well. And it's a very clever concept in a lot of ways because he has to mind with everything with what Hercule Poirot's doing in his mind, thinking of puzzles and such. So that way he can figure out who this person is, and he's assisted by Hastings, which is always a very good thing because he's an interesting character within the Hercule Poirot realm. And I just overall liked it. I thought it was very suspenseful, a good mystery thriller. It has great clues, flows well. The concept and the idea works well, and it's still very intriguing even nearly 90 years later. Number six is The Moving Finger, published in 1942, and a Miss Marple novel, even though she doesn't come towards the last quarter of the novel, but still, she is featured in it and is essential to revealing the person responsible in the novel. The story starts off with Jerry and Joanna Burton, two siblings who move into the small village of Limestock in Devon, excited for the new chapter in their lives. And they receive a poison pen letter claiming their lovers not actually siblings, which understandably angers and horrifies them. Soon after, though, many other people in the village start receiving poison pen letters of false accusations that understandably angers and upsets them as well. And then, when a prominent village member ends up unaliving herself due to the fact that a poison pen letter claimed that her second child is not the child of her husband, it created this whole investigation. And even though it's ruled as her unaliving herself, there's still further investigations to be done where they go through discovering who sent these poison pen letters and what led to these horrors unfolding. And because of that, there goes a mystery and it flows very well and it works well. I really liked the dark side of village life. It reveals a lot of things about how these cozy villages are very dark in their own nature. How, even though Agatha Christie herself wrote these cozy mysteries set in villages, there's nothing really cozy about them. They have a lot of shame and secrets and lies and darkness to it as well, of course. And I just think it's a great book. I liked her use of the moving finger involving the typewriter because the person who did the poison pen just did it all typed by one finger, so that way it wouldn't establish a pattern with the typewriter, which I don't think too much about because we don't use typewriters anymore, but I thought that was an interesting and clever use of the novel and the title, and I just overall liked it. I do wish there could have been more Miss Marple in here, of course, instead of towards the end, but she's nonetheless put in there because she understands human nature and will reveal everything about what exactly happened. And this is just a great book. I liked how there was some twists and turns. I enjoyed it. I found it very engaging. The concept was good. And that's why I consider it number six here on my list of favorite Agatha Christie novels. Number five is Sleeping M Word, published in 1976, shortly after Agatha Christie's passing, and featuring the character Miss Marple. An interesting fact about this novel is that it was originally written in the 1940s during World War II, but kept in Christie's safe. And while it is considered Miss Marple's final mystery within the publication history, some think it's a little bit more of an early work compared to others. But regardless, it is one of the best works in the Miss Marple series, in my opinion, and I really like it. It's one of my top 10 favorites because I overall like the mystery and the flow. The story opens with Gwenda Reed and her husband Giles, who leave their home country in New Zealand to start a life in the English countryside. And everything seems great for their future. They find a home called Hillside. They're excited to be there and start their lives together. But as they begin living in this house, Gwenda ends up receiving a lot of these dreams and suppressed memories that she can't make sense of, and decides to do an investigation with the help of Miss Marple, who's visiting in town. And Miss Marple is apprehensive about helping these couples because she tells them that sometimes you need to let sleeping M word lie, because it seems that these dreams and suppressed memories reveal something more dark and sinister than what is known to other people within the investigation and the villages. But nonetheless, Gwenda and her husband are determined to discover the answers. And so they go through this entire investigation to reveal a lot of long buried secrets, other things that have happened, and it's actually revealed a lot of things about Gwenda's history and her family life. And I think this is just an overall great book. I like the mystery. I like how Agatha Christie takes these cozy mysteries to reveal the dark side by pulling out these layers, because there's a lot of things in this book that you find allusions to that you can pick up quite well if you look very closely and read very closely, because it reveals a lot of things that normally wouldn't be so exposed in the time and place of which this was published, but it does reveal a lot of those things. And I think that's what makes Agatha Christie's great, is that you can kind of pick up on those clues and hints. But what I like too about this book is that you have Gwenda and Giles as a great team, as husband and wife. I think Giles is a very supportive husband. I like how he helps Gwenda and gives her support. And I love how Miss Marple really supports this couple as well. She knows this isn't the right path, but does want to help them out and help them find these answers as they do the investigation. And that's why I like this book. And the conclusion is also fantastic as well. And I just very much enjoy it. Number four is 450 from Paddington, published in 1957. And this is a Miss Marple mystery, of course, but she's not featured a lot in this book, unfortunately. But nonetheless, her character is essential to the reveal towards the end, as usual. And this is a really good one because I think it flows well. It has a nice, easy mystery to follow, and it just works very well. And I really enjoyed it. It's all about a woman named Elsbeth who is visiting her friend, Miss Marple, on a train, and everything is going fine at first, but one minute she looks over into the window and discovers that a woman is being brutally eliminated by a person whose back is turned towards her. And Elspeth tries to tell the police. They don't believe her. They can't find a body. And so Miss Marple tries to figure some things out. She requires a person named Lucy Islesbarrow to go and become a house servant at a place called Rutherford Hall, so that way she can investigate and see if she can find the body, because that's where the location of where the elimination happened, according to Elsbeth. And what I think is very interesting about this is you have a lot of great characters. It has a family called the Krakenthorpes who are very dysfunctional in their own way, but they are engaging and entertaining type characters. And I like the character of Lucy. A lot of people do in the Agatha Christie realm, because she's very much the example of an independent woman within the 1950s. And she's also a very smart, engaging young lady who works hard and is very charming in her own way. And I like how they kind of made her more of the sleuth compared to Miss Marple, even though I would have liked more Miss Marple in this novel, of course. But I do enjoy it and think it was overall a good novel. I thought it had some interesting twists and turns, and I just overall liked it because it flowed well, worked well, and I think it's one of Agatha Christie's best works, in my opinion, because it's just fun and exciting, and it has a lot of engaging, cozy mystery feels and dark side. And I just thought it was overall good and a nice, easy read. Number three is The M Word of Roger Ackroyd, published in 1926. And for those who are familiar with Agatha Christie's works from the mystery genre itself, it features not just the detective Hercule Poirot, but is one of the most controversial and most well known of Agatha Christie's works, mostly for that twist ending, which I'm going to try not to reveal too much here because I want you to be a little bit surprised if you haven't read the book. But basically, it tells the story of a man named Dr. James Shepherd who is investigating the violent elimination of Roger Ackroyd, a wealthy widower. He goes to Hercule Poirot to try and do the investigation, and they're trying to figure out what exactly happened, with Dr. Shepherd narrating. And this is a very interesting, clever, great mystery novel. I really enjoyed it. It's very engaging. And it does have that twist ending because it features something about a couple of the characters which are essential to the novel. But again, I don't want to reveal too much because the twist ending and it's controversial, and I don't want to give away too many surprises. But I very much enjoyed The M Word of Roger Ackroyd. It remains one of my favorites in the top 10 list of my favorite Agatha Christie works, and it's really great, and I can see why it's some of her best and most well known works. Number two is The M Word on the Orient Express, published in 1934. And this features the detective Hercule Poirot as one of Agatha Christie's most well-known works for good reason, as it's a great mystery and flows quite well. It starts off with Hercule Poirot on a train called the Orient Express heading back to England so he can head back on home. And he meets an interesting pool of characters on these trains who all have something to hide or something about them that sets Hercule Poirot off a little bit. Nonetheless, he goes to his cabin, takes a nice little sleep for the night, only in the morning to find out that someone on the train has been brutally eliminated. Turns out that this person who was brutally eliminated is a former gangster who infamously many years ago kidnapped and brutally eliminated a child. And therefore, it feels like justice has been served because why do you want to investigate this? But Hercule Poirot nonetheless does because he's a detective and he has to find out who did this, including the fact that we have a good pool of suspects, 12 of them entirely. And since we have 12 wounds on the person's body, it creates this interesting mystery on a train, especially the fact that it takes place in winter and the cold season. And what's great about this book is that it really just digs into the themes of what I consider vigilantism, justice, and especially what do you do when a crime in the criminal justice system fails you. And this is just a really great work. I like the flow, I like the mystery, I like how it ends, and it does make you question some things and a little bit of thought-provoking moments, of course, but I really just liked it overall. I think it's really a great mystery. It's a wonderful story. I think it has some thrills and some suspense, and I just overall enjoyed it. I think it's a great work, and it's one of Agatha Christie's best, and for good reason, because it's just a fabulous work. And the number one book for me in the Agatha Christie favorite novels is And Then There Were None, published in 1939, 1940. And I know it sounds like a cliche to put this book at the top because it is the best-selling mystery of all time and one of the best-selling books of all time, but I absolutely love it. And for me, this was the book that made me fall in love with Agatha Christie because it's such an excellent mystery with tons of thrills and suspense. It tells the story of 10 people who are on an isolated island owned by the Owens family. And two of the 10 people are staff members in the home, while the 8 people are guests for the Owens. They're invited to this isolated island as guests for the weekend, and everything seems fine at first. They're talking, getting to know each other, they're having a nice time while they're waiting for their host to arrive, only for a gramophone record to play, and suddenly the host reveals that this is not some grand celebration, but more a weekend to prevail justice on them because it turns out that these 10 people have committed crimes that they got away with. So there's a little bit of anti-vigilantism in it, or vigilantism, as you say, and it's just a great work. And you start to see everything play off because you have this nursery rhyme as well, where it's called 10 Little Soldier Boys. It was under a original title that was very racist and has since been removed from current editions, which I'm glad about. I do think it needed to be removed and reworded. And basically, the nursery rhyme of 10 Little Soldier Boys describes how each 10 person ends up being brutally eliminated, and that's how it goes within the entire story as well. And how it ends up happening is anyone's guess. But I overall very much like this book. It's fantastic. It's a great mystery with plenty of thrills and suspense. These characters are not good good people, but they are people who, in general, were guilty of their crimes, whether they try to justify it or not, and therefore they're having to be judged by a higher power because they couldn't in a criminal court. So it's just an excellent work overall. I very much enjoy it, and I highly recommend it. Even if you're not an Agatha Christie fan, this is a great work, and I recommend it because it's my number one favorite of Agatha Christie's work and one of my top 10 books of all time as well. I thank you so much for tuning in to those top 10 Agatha Christie works. And there's plenty of other great works that Agatha Christie did. And if I could say them all in order, we'd be here for a while. But I hope you enjoyed this segment. And I hope to do a little more Agatha Christie going forward because I think she was a great writer and she still creates a lot of influence even today. And now tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Have you read these books? Not read these books? What do you think are her best works? What do you think are her worst works? Please be sure to put everything in the comments. I welcome all discussions as always. I thank you again for tuning in. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell. I'll be back next week with a double book review, this time nonfiction works. It's something I wanted to work on more at the beginning of the year. And I'm going to do 2 nonfiction books for the next Sunday. And then we're going to move into February where I'm going to be doing a mixture of romance and nonfiction work for Black History Month. I thank you so much again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.